If there was one thing that unsettled Barcelona fans ahead of this semi-final, it was the absence of Lamine Yamal from the training session held at King Abdullah Stadium. It's no exaggeration to say that this detail completely changes the atmosphere surrounding the match. Lamine did not take part in the session, repeating a scenario similar to what happened days before the game against Espanyol, when he also missed training and still ended up playing. On that occasion, the club explained that it was due to a general illness. This time, however, the situation is different. There was no medical statement or official note explaining the reason for his absence. That alone raises questions. At the same time, circulating information suggests it's nothing serious and that the player has been doing specific work in the gym, which points to a possible clearance for the semi-final against Athletic Bilbao. Even so, it's impossible to ignore an important point. Missing training on the eve of a decisive match is never a good sign, especially when we're talking about a player who is now fundamental to the team's attacking structure. Lamine provides depth, breaks defensive lines, attracts markers, and constantly forces the opponent to worry about the right flank. Without him at full fitness, Barcelona lose unpredictability. And against Athletic Bilbao, that matters even more. We're talking about a physically strong side, defensively well-organized, and one that usually makes big matches extremely difficult. Lamine's presence, even if he's not at 100%, could be decisive in breaking down a defense that rarely gives space. Meanwhile, Ronald Araújo trained normally with the group. The centre-back continues to progress in his reintegration process, but everything suggests he still won't be used in this semi-final. Hansi Flick himself has made it clear that at this stage, the Uruguayan is not in the immediate plans for high-demand matches, pointing to total caution from the coaching staff. Barcelona arrive in Saudi Arabia with mixed news. On one hand, they've recovered important players, such as Dani Olmo, who scored one of the goals in the win against Espanyol and is beginning to establish himself as a real option in the advanced midfield role. On the other hand, the team is still dealing with significant absences. Gavi remains sidelined. The midfielder is still recovering after undergoing knee arthroscopy to treat a radial tear in the medial meniscus. His absence continues to be felt, especially due to the intensity and off-the-ball pressure he provides, something that's sorely missed in knockout matches. Another confirmed absence is Andreas Christensen. The defender suffered a partial tear of the anterior cruciate ligament in his left knee during a training session in December and is expected to be out for an estimated 3 to 4 months. This limits defensive options and forces Flick to rely even more on young players like Cubarsí, who has responded well but is still in the process of establishing himself. Araujo's situation, however, still raises questions. Despite already training, his availability remains uncertain, and all signs suggest Barcelona have no intention of taking risks at this point in the season. Within this context, the likely lineup Barcelona is expected to face Athletic Bilbao will be Joan Garcia, Koundé, Cubarsí, Martin, Balde, Eric Garcia, Pedri, Fermin, Rafinha, Rashford, and Ferran Torres. It's a competitive team with strong technical quality, but one that relies heavily on defensive concentration and offensive efficiency. Without Lamine at full fitness, the creative burden falls even more on Pedri and Rafinha, while Rashford and Ferran will carry the responsibility of being decisive. The semi-final promises to be tough, intense, and full of fine margins. For Barcelona, it will largely come down to controlling the tempo of the game and preventing Athletic from turning the match into something physical and chaotic. And above all, it depends on whether Lamine Yamal will be ready to make the difference, because today, with him on the pitch, Barca are one team. Without him, they are a completely different one.